All right, guys, welcome back to the EgoLess podcast. I have a viral sensation and one of the funniest guys I have ever seen. I've got Jon from Jon Breaks Bad news. Jon, thanks for being on this podcast with me today, my friend.
Thank you for having me, Jake. It's nice to chat with somebody like yourself. I enjoy doing these kinds of things. It's fun.
And that's what it is. We get on because the only thing that people see is what we put out there on the internet, right? And I believe that who you are is so much more important than what you do. I'm looking at your stats right now. Incredible. You got 93,000 people talking about you on Facebook. And most people would kill, pay, or do whatever they could for these kind of numbers. But for you, it's just regular. It's just something that happened. How did you get into this?
I've always been interested in doing comedy. Before I started this kind of stuff, I was doing, I was in a band. I was in a death metal band that was kind of just like a local thing. You know, nobody really listened to us or anything like that. And then after that, we broke up the band. You know, I listen to podcasts all the time, so I wanted to start a podcast. Started this podcast with a group of friends. We called it Master Haters, and like the whole gimmick of the podcast was like everybody would bring in a topic every week, and like we would talk about why we hate that thing. It would just be like 5 people arguing in a room, and it was frenetic and it was a lot of fun. But again, I had trouble like getting people to listen to it, and we stopped doing the podcast, and then we took a lengthy break. I had a couple of things that I had to take care of, and then I got to a point where I wanted to do the podcast again, and it was about a year later. So I got together with mostly the same people, but there was a few people that were a little different, and we got together and we started doing it. And we were doing it every week, and one of my best friends, Chris, you know, me and him would sit around and we would just like try to come up with bits and like stuff that we thought was funny. And one of the things that we started tossing around was this idea of like a doctor who was like really bad at giving diagnoses for like terminal illness, and like
it's terrible, but it's funny though.
Just like having a doctor come in and be like, "Hey, I'm Dr. John, and it's cancer, 2 months to live," and just walking out of the room. And like we were playing around with that idea, and we never really did anything with it. So I was sitting around and I was editing one of the episodes of the podcast, and I was like, I can't get that doctor bit out of my head. I think that's really funny. I know it's probably not the most original thing in the world, but I think that the delivery could be really good. You always read those Craigslist ads of people like wanting to do odd jobs, and it's like, sometimes they're like crazy people that are like, "Yeah, I'll come and eat your hedges." Like, what do you mean eat my hedges? He's like, yeah, I'll just use my teeth, I'll trim your head. And like this, like wacky stuff like that you see on the internet. I need somebody to come and bathe in my bathtub, but I'm gonna fill it with milk. And like, I was like, what if there was this guy who was just like trying to use like Facebook Marketplace to like do like similar to the doctor thing, but like what if he was using Facebook as like a tool to like build a business where he told people bad news for a living? So that's where I kind of got the character, like the premise of the character. And then I was like, what does this guy act like? And like, what does he do? I used to have my hair cut short. My beard was never this long, but I started growing it out. And I was like, what if he's just like really disheveled and like is miserable with life and like just kind of not enjoys spreading it, but is like the spreader of it. And that's kind of where that all fell together, and like it being this like very dry and like kind of sadistic delivery of the bad news shit.
To me, that's incredible. So many people get on and they want to follow what everybody's doing, but you spent so much time like crafting this character. How long ago was that when you started it?
A little over a year ago. I started it probably in July of last year.
You're telling me that you built up 93,000 followers on your Facebook page in less than a year?
It slowed down.
Without even trying though.
Yeah, I just put it up as like a joke. I didn't think that anything would come of it. So there's one picture and it's like a little kid in the background and he looks like he's crying, and it's like me taking a selfie with the kid crying in the background. And I wrote something to the effect, I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was something to the effect of like, just got done telling this kid his parents are getting divorced. If you want me to crush your kid's hopes of ever finding a loving relationship and having a real family, send me an email at jonbreaksbadnews@gmail.com, and I'll take care of it for you. And that got shared into like hundreds of Facebook groups, and like a bunch of like people were just sharing that as a meme. And I started getting messages on the Facebook page like, hey, can you call my boyfriend and tell him that I've been cheating on him? And I was like, okay, yeah. So me and my girlfriend at the time would go out on the front porch and just call people, and she'd film me, and then I would post the videos of it immediately. And I just thought it was funny. And like within a couple of days, like within the first 48 hours, it got up to like 4,000 likes on Facebook. And I was like, holy shit, that's the most attention that I've ever gotten from anything that I've ever tried to make. And then the next day I woke up and it was 20,000. I was like, what the fuck happened? What happened overnight? Now I have like what other people probably work years and years to achieve,
and never even
and
achieve.
It was, and then I got some emails from Lad Bible, and Lad Bible wanted to make a piece on me, and so I gave them like non-exclusionary rights to use the footage. So they took it, they cut it up, and they put it on Lad Bible, and Lad Bible has like 5 million followers on Facebook. And like the next thing I knew, it was just like 40, I hit 40,000, then 50,000, then 60,000. And I was like, this is nuts. And then I got a message from people at Carter's Media. And then I was in the New York Post, and I was, I was in like a couple of newspapers. And I never really thought that, like I thought this was just like my twisted sense of humor that maybe a couple of my friends would look at and go, huh, and chuckle, and like that would be the end of it. I never imagined this kind of thing where even like a year later, I'm still getting like a ton of requests every day to do it. And, I'm trying to keep up with it. And it's, like it's fun. I never imagined that it would grow this big.
And that's really what this whole podcast is about is, EgoLess is getting outside of ourselves. EgoLess is realizing how small we are in the story of creation and leaving it better, leaving the world better than we found it. People want to mimic and do things the same way, and it doesn't work out. But somebody like you spent time crafting, this character, crafting something different. You brought joy, you brought laughs. Like, dude, I was cracking up when I'm watching you deliver this bad news. I'm like, how did nobody else think about this to where you really are adding joy to people's lives by this?
That was the one thing that I thought was like, this is such a no-brainer of an idea. Why hasn't anybody done it? So I just did it. I did take a look. I looked it up before I went ahead and made the page. Because the one thing that I've always tried to do when it comes to even like writing jokes or like any kind of creative thing is like, I don't want to do something that anybody else has done. I want to do something that's like from my mind and not an influence thing. Like, I don't watch a lot of TV. I don't watch a lot of stuff. I heard Lil Wayne talk about it. Like, he doesn't listen to any rap at all. Like when he like when he's about to write, he doesn't listen to like what's going on today. He listens to like classical and jazz and stuff like that. And like, if I'm going to consume anything, it's going to be like something that's like helping me grow in a way. It's not going to be something that I want to mimic. And I never want to be the guy that's just doing what that other guy did and just like a crappier version of that. Like, I want to do something that, even if it is a crappy version of it, I want to be the guy that innovated it.
What you just said, there's like, dude, it's deeper than I think that you probably even realize. Have you always been like that?
I think that's a relatively new thing for me. I went through a bit of a transition period over the last couple of years. As a creator, I started off in this death metal band, and it was like standard death metal band. We didn't really try to go outside the box, and it wasn't until the end of that where I was trying to push boundaries and like, why don't we add some ska into this? Like, why don't we add some stuff that's not been done in this realm and like see what we can create? And it caused a little bit of rifts because like not everybody has the same tastes, and when you're trying to like focus on one thing and like make it a cohesive effort between 4 other people, and like you're trying to like push outside of like what their comfort zones are, it becomes like difficult. So like after that, I was like, if I'm doing anything, I'm gonna do it with me. And then I started a podcast with 5 other people, but they were like-minded and they wanted to do the same thing. So, uh, and then I was like, I want to do comedy. I've always loved comedy. I've never really thought I never thought I could do it, but I just want to take a shot at it because I haven't taken a shot at it. Maybe I could be good at it, and I don't know. Originally, I was gonna be just like different like bits, and then this one thing took off so far. Like I eventually want to do more than that. Like I don't want to stay stuck in this forever, but also you kind of are at the will of your audience, because if you try to do, like, I've tried to launch podcasts through that page, and like people don't want to, they want the thing that they came here for. They don't like, it's like if you go to McDonald's and they're like, we got pizza, you're like, well, I was kind of hoping for a hamburger, and they're like, nah, we got pizza. Like I would have to create something completely different and like let that grow on its own.
What you just said, I want to unpack just a little bit, because there's so much gold. You wanted to push outside the bounds. I think there's a lot of people, dude, in the same situation where they've got friends, or they're in a group where they want to do something, but that group just wants to stay, hey, we just want to follow this track of thinking. Did that cause any rifts with you guys when you want to go push, but everybody else wants to stay the same?
No, I'm still like, actually, we still get together and jam every once in a while. It's a hobby, like it became something that we do for enjoyment. Instead of it being like, we're going to try to like play shows every week and like write an album and like make it big. We're not making any traction. And there's a time where like you have to like cut your losses and just go, okay, well, this didn't work out. And like, if we keep trying to push at it, like, what are we going to do? Like, we'd either have to completely like become a pop band or something, or just like go, like let's put the kibosh on this and move on. And because it was not making any of us happy, and it wasn't something that all of us wanted to be doing. And then I wanted to do comedy. The venue that I worked at had like a comedy night, and I was getting friendlier with like other comedians, and like they were like, yeah, dude, just give it a shot, go try it. And like I did a couple of times, and then that place closed down, and I was like, okay, if I'm gonna do comedy, I don't know if I want to necessarily do it as like a stand-up, but there's like a million forms of comedy, and like maybe I could write sketches, maybe I could just write comedy. I got into trying a lot of different stuff, and I kind of eventually settled on like doing audio platforms, podcast comedy, and also doing like, I wanted to get into doing videos. Like my first venture into that was the Jon Breaks Bad news shit.
I don't remember if it was a picture or if it was a video where, they told people, hey, you need to go get behind this wall. And there was a wall there that they had to climb over, and there was a rope. And it was only, the wall was only probably like 5 feet wide. So you got to get behind the wall. And, everybody was like struggling to get up it. One of the other people was like looking at everybody doing this, like, why are y'all doing that? And just walked around and just walked behind the wall.
Right.
They wasted so much energy just trying to do whatever, what they thought was supposed to be doing, instead of just taking, hey, I'm going to, take some time. I'm going to sit down, think about this, not be influenced by everybody else, and go a new path.
Yeah, because sometimes the path of least resistance isn't necessarily lazy. It's just the way to get there. Like I think that like a lot of people have this feeling that like they shouldn't take any help, or they shouldn't take a shortcut, when like just do the thing. Like get to the destination however you need to get there. I didn't have a professional camera. I didn't have a ton of editing experience or software. I didn't have a ton of like experience making comedy. I thought this was funny. I'm going to do the thing. I'm going to put it out on the internet. And then that happened. I think a lot of people get held up like, oh, before I start writing or doing anything or putting stuff out, I'm going to go, workshop it for 10 hours. And like, yeah, that works. If you're going to go to a comedy club every night and workshop your material and like really fine hone it, and that's your path, do that. But like, if just do the thing, it doesn't matter how you do it.
Just what you're saying, like for me, if you've got 5 steakhouses, why would I want to go in and compete with 5 steakhouses that are doing good? I'm going to go open up something that's totally different to where I don't have to compete with anybody.
Look, the world's changing, and either Amazon's going to own everything by the end of next year, and they're going to be our new overlords, or people are going to go, I'm not dealing with this. I'm going to go make my own way. And that's what needs to happen, is people need to go and kind of make their own way. That's a really important thing that needs to happen, or we're all going to be doomed to waiting 2 to 4 days for our packages.
Now, let me ask you, I want to ask you this question. You started this a year ago, and you would have never thought that would have grown this big that quick. Now that it is there and you have this, these numbers and these things, do you feel any different than you did back then?
I feel like I want to keep creating. I was kind of like, this is the thing, like this is the one idea that takes off. Like I was almost for a little while, I kind of resented it, because it was like I'd worked harder at other stuff. Like I'd worked really hard at being a podcaster. I'd worked really hard at being a musician. And then this, which I came up with at 4:00 in the morning while drinking, was the thing that took off. And I was like, that kind of is poetry to me, though. Like in a sense, like the least likely thing to have happen becomes like what you are able to build off of. It took me a while to really appreciate it, but I think now I do enjoy it a lot more than I did when it first started taking off. I used to joke that, like, because I got my first Facebook payout, like AdSense payout, it was like $100 or $200, and I was like, I'm like in the top 10% of all paid comedians of all time. Like,
that is too funny. No, dude, I mean, that's incredible. Because I think, so you're at a point now where it's kind of like a now what, right?
Yeah.
And so what is next for Jon, and Jon Breaks Bad News? Because I mean, dude, I like you, and I'm going to be friends with you, and I'm going to give you some, tips and things after this podcast. And
I would really appreciate that.
Anybody who's listening to this podcast right now, mark my words that Jon is about to blow up and skyrocket, even like 10x of what he is right now. That's a guarantee. I mean, I can see it. You've got everything there. But so what is next, and what do you want to do?
Again, we're talking like a year ago. What ended up happening was I got in contact. I can't like name any real names or anything like that, but I got in contact with television producers, and they wanted to sit down and workshop some ideas with like where this can go. So that kind of fell through, the first opportunity that I had, but there's been others that I'm currently pursuing right now. I'm also writing a lot. That's really what I would like to do, is like continue doing this as like, because I know it makes a lot of people happy, and it's fun for them. But I want to do other projects, and if I can make this a bigger thing and like be able to be more creative with it than what I currently have the means to do, I 100% want to do that. But I don't know if that's going to be necessarily in the cards. It may stay being like a live streaming kind of thing, like on Twitch and Facebook and stuff like that. Or it might turn into like something that you might see on like a Quibi, like that new streaming service. If what I want to happens, that's where you're going to see it.
Right now,
not necessarily on Quibi, but something similar.
I want to say, like, when are people going to wake up? But I know that they're not. And I'm actually glad that they're not. And I'll tell you why, is because if everybody did get woke up and did everything differently, like you did, then what we do wouldn't be special, to where it's like people like you have to trailblaze that path.
The one thing that I can say is that I think a lot of people who are creating are out of touch with the majority of people. Like, they're not touching on the certain things that makes people tick. Like, you watch, like, I don't know how much TV you watch. I don't watch hardly any.
I don't watch any.
but every once in a while I'll see a clip from like one of the late night talk shows. I don't know who that's getting made for. I don't know who that's appealing to. And if you look at their ratings on on rating systems, doesn't seem like it's appealing to many people. Like especially the last 4 years, where it's been like a lot of political talk that a lot of people want to get the hell away from. And I'm guilty of it myself on live streams. If people start asking me questions about stuff that's going on and I'm interacting with my chat, I try to make it as funny as possible, but it's hard to avoid. It's so like in your face all the time, and having it be like the thing that you're trying to watch at 11 o'clock at night when you're just trying to sit down and like have a drink and go to bed, and like you have Jimmy Fallon like talking about whatever gaffe the president made. Like that's not why I turned this on. I'm gonna watch the Cooking Network, I guess.
No, like you're right, dude. You're completely right. And even Hitler said it. We won't get political, but he said, "Tell a lie big enough, loud enough, and long enough, and people will believe it." And they think that if they can just keep pushing.
Careful with that quoting Hitler stuff. Look, you're absolutely right. I'm just saying I know because I've been demonetized on Facebook a bunch of times now, and like for just making a joke that I thought was going to be like totally fine, but it turned out it went against their terms of service that nobody can figure out what.
Oh no, dude, and I'm with you on that, because it's like you look at like what sick things happened out of that, but people started to believe it because so many things were pushed. Now with with Facebook accounts and blocking things, those influencers are going other places where they can have the freedom.
Right. Yeah, that's why I'm on everything. I'm on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. I have a TikTok, which it's just the same stuff. It's just on TikTok. But that blew up even quicker than the Facebook page. I got onto TikTok recently, within like the last 3 months, and like just re-uploaded some videos that were on like the Facebook page, and that hit 180,000 followers on TikTok. People are out there and they're looking for content that's new and fresh, and they will go to whatever platform is available. Like now there's because Twitch has gotten really stringent with their terms of service. There's now DLive, there's now BitChute, there's now Storyfire. That's like a YouTube alternative. And it's like as soon as they start tightening the grasps of like what you're allowed to say and what you can see on these platforms, people start flocking to other things. That's something that obviously we're always going to have to contend with. I don't want to get too deep into it now, but like anybody that's going through monetize through like any kind of banking, they're at the will of the bank basically. So like YouTube had like when MasterCard says like get them off of AdSense, they have to get that guy off of AdSense. It's like there's a list of rules and regulations that they adhere to from up high, which would be like MasterCard and Visa and payment processing servers, because they have the control of what the narrative is.
You're completely right. So funny. I posted about this on LinkedIn, I think just about 2 days ago. So Fortnite is huge, insane, huge.
They're like for 4 years now, almost, I think 3-4 years now, they've been like the biggest free to play video game on the face of the planet.
Fortnite giving that stuff away. I've got an 8-year-old stepson. I think I spent $140 in the past 2 months on different outfits. Now he does the chores. To get these kids are spending $10 on a new dance.
It doesn't change the functionality of the game at all. I play very little Call of Duty Warzone with my friends, especially since we were under quarantine for 3 months. I was sitting on the sitting and riding the couch, and I was just like, I got to do something to fill up a few of these hours. So I started playing video games. It's the first time I've played video games in a long time. And Call of Duty Warzone, it's available for free. But I ended up dumping like $60 into it within the first week that I was playing, because it was like, oh, wow, you can get this gun and this gun. And like, it's like, oh, but they gave me the game for free and I've already paid the value of the game for it. It's innovative, and that's part of the reason why I do the actual like bad news breaking thing for free, Like I don't charge people for it. My plan is to make the content. Like they know, like if you come to me and you ask me to break bad news for you, there isn't a contract, but the contract is that like I'm gonna be able to use it to monetize.
No, dude, that's huge. When you do that, you develop a brand that can't be controlled.
There's so many regulations on all that type of stuff. I consider myself kind of a libertarian, and I would like to see more freedom when it comes to like people being able to choose how they conduct themselves.
I mean, that's what America, was built on. And I think that's a good ending note, because at the end of the day, if something makes you happy and it doesn't harm me, or somebody else, like go do it if I don't have to pay for it.
Yeah, exactly.
So
it was good. Really good talking to you, man.
Yeah, John, dude, it was incredible having you on. Where can people find you, and how do they find you online?
Really, I would like to have people go to youtube.com/Jon Breaks Bad News. If you don't use YouTube, facebook.com/Jon Breaks Bad News, or Instagram. Have a Twitch channel that you can catch the live streams on, but they're the same everywhere. I have it restreamed to all different platforms.
Jon Breaks Bad News, dude. You've got big things coming. Not even just being the funny, but just who you are, dude. You've got a lot in you, and I'm excited to see you grow in your platform. To achieve the things that you want, man. So we'll be talking here more in the future.
Yeah, I look forward to it. Look forward to hearing from you, Jake.
Awesome.
Get your ego out the way.